What if I told you that the very foundation of our digital world, the engine that powers everything from your late-night movie stream to the complex AI that might one day cure diseases, is about to shatter and be reborn in a brilliant flash of light? We've all felt it, haven't we? That moment of frustration when a progress bar freezes, a video buffers endlessly, or an application crashes under the weight of its own complexity. We blame our internet, our device, our software, but the real bottleneck, the fundamental limit we're crashing against, is far deeper. It's baked into the very fabric of computing itself, the tired, old, and overheating world of electrons. But today, we're not here to talk about the end of an era. We're here to witness the dawn of a new one. A revolution whispered in laboratories and innovation hubs is finally shouting its arrival, and it's powered by the purest, fastest thing in the universe, light. Imagine a technology so transformative it makes today's fastest supercomputers look like ancient abacuses. This isn't a fantasy from a science fiction novel. It's the tangible promise of photonic chips. In a world defined by the relentless pursuit of more data, faster processing, and smarter algorithms, these marvels of engineering are emerging not just as an improvement, but as a complete paradigm shift. Unlike the traditional silicon chips that have been the bedrock of our digital civilization for over half a century, photonic processors don't push tiny electrons through microscopic copper wires. Instead, they command beams of light photons to perform calculations. Think of it this way. Our current electronic system is like a vast, complex city with billions of streets. The data, carried by electrons, are like delivery trucks. They do a fantastic job, but they get stuck in traffic, they generate friction heat, they leak energy, and there's a physical limit to how many trucks you can cram onto a street. Now, imagine photonics. It's not about building more streets. It's about replacing the entire city with a network of teleportation portals. Information, carried by photons, travels at the speed of light, unimpeded, with virtually no traffic jams and no heat-generating friction. It's a fundamentally different, and profoundly more elegant, way to compute. At the forefront of this revolution is a German startup named Kuant. They've developed a photonic processor that isn't just a lab experiment. It's a real, working piece of technology that promises speeds up to 50 times faster in energy consumption, a staggering 30 times lower than its electronic counterparts. This isn't just an incremental step forward. It's a quantum leap that could redefine the future of artificial intelligence, crack open new possibilities in scientific research, and completely overhaul the architecture of the data centers that form the backbone of our connected world. We are standing on the precipice, looking at a future where the speed of thought is no longer a metaphor, but a technical specification. Before we can truly appreciate the brilliance of this new dawn, we must first understand the darkness it's pushing back against. Our modern world runs on data, and that data lives in colossal, humming, anonymous buildings we call data centers. They are the invisible engines of our society, storing our memories, processing our transactions, and training the AI that is rapidly reshaping our lives. But these digital fortresses harbor a dark secret, an insatiable and terrifying appetite for energy. In 2022 alone, global data centers consumed up to 440 terawatt-hours of electricity. To put that number in perspective, it's more electricity than the entire United Kingdom consumes in a year. It surpasses the total energy generated by all the wind farms in the European Union in 2023. These aren't just buildings. They are digital dragons, constantly demanding more power to fuel our endless stream of information. And the problem is accelerating at a breakneck pace. The explosion of generative AI models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and countless others requires computational power on a scale we've never seen before. Training a single large AI model can consume as much electricity as 100 US homes do in an entire year. As these technologies become more integrated into our daily lives, from our cars to our healthcare, their energy demands will skyrocket. Projections suggest that by 2030, data centers and AI infrastructure could account for 4.5% of the entire world's energy consumption. The message is stark and unavoidable. We are on a collision course with an energy crisis of our own. Digital making. We can't keep building a future powered by AI and big data on a foundation of 20th century energy inefficiency. It's an unsustainable pact. The world doesn't just want a more efficient computing solution, it urgently needs one to prevent our digital progress from grinding to a halt under the weight of its own power demands. For decades, the silicon-based transistor has been the undisputed hero of the modern age. It's the microscopic switch, the fundamental building block of every computer, smartphone, and smart toaster we own. The relentless march of progress, famously encapsulated by Moore's law, dictated that the number of transistors we could fit on a chip would double roughly every 2 years. This law was the engine of the digital revolution, giving us exponentially more powerful and cheaper devices year after year. But that heroic era is coming to an end. The silicon chip, our faithful servant, is struggling. We have pushed it to its absolute physical limits. To make chips more powerful, we've had to shrink transistors down to the atomic scale. Today's advanced transistors are so small that you could fit millions of them on the head of a pin. But in this quantum realm, the classical laws of physics begin to break down. The first major villain is heat. As electrons are forced to navigate these impossibly crowded and tiny circuits, they generate friction, just like a car's tires on the road. With billions of transistors switching on and off billions of times per second, this friction creates an immense amount of waste heat. This is why your laptop gets hot, why your phone throttles its performance, and why data centers spend nearly as much energy on cooling their servers as they do on running them. We are literally paying to generate heat, and then paying again to get rid of it. The second villain is energy loss, or leakage. When the walls of a transistor, the gates that control the flow of electrons, become only a few atoms thick, electrons start to do something bizarre called quantum tunneling. They effectively leak through the closed gate, wasting power even when the transistor is supposed to be off. It's like trying to build a dam out of a sponge. These limitations, heat generation, energy leakage, and performance ceilings, have created a developmental bottleneck. We can't just keep shrinking transistors forever. We've hit a wall. Pushing electrons harder and faster through ever smaller copper wires is no longer the answer. It's time to change the messenger itself. So, electrons are the problem. How are photons the solution? The science behind photonic chips is both elegant and mind-bendingly clever. It replaces the brute force mechanics of electricity with the subtle and powerful physics of light. At its heart, a photonic chip is a miniature optical circuit etched onto a silicon wafer, much like a traditional chip. But instead of copper pathways for electrons, it has microscopic channels called waveguides for photons. Here's a breakdown of the process. First, you need a source of light. This is typically a tiny, integrated laser that fires pulses of photons into the waveguides. These pulses are the equivalent of the 1s and os, the binary language of traditional computing. Next, these light pulses travel through a network of optical components. Instead of transistors, you have modulators, interferometers, and resonators. A modulator, for instance, can encode data onto a light wave by changing its intensity or phase. Think of it like a super-fast signalman using a lantern to send Morse code, but billions of times a second. The real magic, however, happens with interference. This is where the chip performs its computation. When two light waves meet, they can either amplify each other constructive interference or cancel each other out destructive interference. By precisely controlling the paths the light waves take, a photonic chip can make them interfere in specific ways. The resulting pattern of light and dark is the answer to a mathematical problem. For example, a complex operation like a matrix multiplication, the cornerstone of all AI calculations, can be performed in a single, instantaneous flash of interfering light, rather than millions of sequential electronic calculations. Furthermore, light offers an advantage that electricity simply can't match: analog-style computation. An electron is typically either on or off, a 1 or a 0. But a light wave has properties like amplitude, brightness, and phase, its position in the wave cycle. This means a single beam of light can represent a whole continuum of data states, not just two. This allows for incredibly complex and parallel operations, where multiple computations are happening simultaneously on the same light wave. It's a complete departure from the step-by-step logic of electronic circuits, opening up an entirely new dimension of information processing. When you switch from pushing electrons to guiding photons, the benefits aren't just incremental, they are transformative. The very nature of light bestows three incredible superpowers upon photonic chips: astonishing speed, radical efficiency, and naturally cool operation. Let's start with speed. Photons, by their very nature, travel at the speed of light, and within the waveguides of a chip, they face almost no resistance. There is no traffic jam. This means data can be transmitted and processed at frequencies far beyond what's possible with electrical signals, which are always dragging against the resistance of the copper wire. The promise of being 50 times faster isn't an exaggeration, it's a reflection of this fundamental physical advantage. Next, and perhaps most importantly, is efficiency. In an electronic chip, a significant portion of the energy, sometimes over 30%, is lost as waste heat due to electrical resistance. Photons don't have this problem. They glide through their waveguides with near zero energy loss. This elimination of resistive waste is what allows photonic chips to be up to 30 times more energy efficient. But the efficiency gains go even deeper, thanks to massive parallelism. As we discussed, a single operation in a photonic chip can perform a calculation that would take a traditional chip thousands or even millions of cycles. Let's take AI training. Kuant suggests its technology could make this process up to 1,000 times more efficient. What does that mean in the real world? An AI model that currently takes 6 months and a small power plant's worth of energy to train could potentially be trained in a matter of hours, using the energy equivalent of a household appliance. This would democratize AI development and accelerate scientific discovery at an unimaginable rate. Finally, there's the game-changing benefit of cool operation. Since there's no electrical resistance, there's no friction, and therefore, no significant heat generation. Photonic chips stay cool naturally. This simple fact has colossal economic implications. It could virtually eliminate the need for the massive, power-hungry, and expensive cooling systems that dominate today's data centers. The cost savings in both infrastructure and ongoing energy bills would be astronomical, completely transforming the economics of high-performance computing. As with any revolutionary technology, the path from a brilliant concept to widespread adoption is paved with challenges. Photonic chips, for all their dazzling promise, are no exception. The road ahead has hurdles that researchers and engineers are working tirelessly to overcome. The single biggest challenge is the optoelectronic interface. Our entire digital ecosystem, from our software and operating systems to our memory and storage, is built on the language of electrons. Photonic chips speak the language of light. This means that for a photonic processor to be useful in today's world, it needs a translator. Data must be converted from an electrical signal into an optical one to be processed, the E-to conversion, and then converted back from an optical signal to an electrical one to be stored or used by other parts of the system, the O-to-E conversion. Every one of these conversions takes time and energy. If not managed perfectly, these translation steps can introduce latency and inefficiencies that eat away at the chip's natural advantages. It's like having the world's fastest speaker who has to pause after every sentence for a slow, methodical translator. The goal is to make these conversions so fast and seamless that they become negligible, or better yet, to develop native optical memory and other components that eliminate the need for translation altogether. Another challenge lies in signal noise and precision. Electronic digital systems are incredibly precise. A 1 is a 1, and a 0 is a 0. With very high fidelity. Photonic systems, especially those that leverage analog-style computation, can be susceptible to noise, tiny, random fluctuations in the light that can slightly alter the outcome of a calculation. While current photonic chips can achieve impressive accuracy, around 95%, this still falls short of the 99.99% plus accuracy we expect from traditional digital systems for many tasks. For applications like AI, Where a small degree of imprecision is often acceptable, 95% is more than enough. But for tasks requiring absolute mathematical certainty, like financial modeling or secure encryption, this gap needs to be closed. Continuous refinement of the hardware and the development of sophisticated error correction algorithms are key to bridging this precision divide. If there is one field poised to be completely revolutionized by photonics, it is artificial intelligence. The relationship between AI and photonic computing is not just beneficial, it's profoundly symbiotic. The insatiable hunger of modern AI for computational power is the very problem that photonics is perfectly suited to solve. At the core of almost every neural network, from the one that recognizes your face to the one that writes poetry, is a mathematical operation called a matrix vector multiplication. Essentially, the AI is constantly multiplying huge tables of numbers matrices together. This is an incredibly repetitive and power-intensive task for an electronic chip, which has to perform each multiplication one by one in a long sequence. It's the main reason AI training consumes so much energy and time. This is where photonic chips unleash their superpower. As we learned, they can perform these massive matrix multiplications almost instantaneously through the clever interference of light waves. An entire matrix of data can be encoded into an array of light beams, passed through an optical processor, and the result is read out on the other side in a single operation. It's like solving a giant Sudoku puzzle in one glance, instead of filling in each box individually. This capability will do more than just make existing AI faster and cheaper. It will unlock entirely new frontiers. Imagine autonomous vehicles that can process sensory data from dozens of cameras and sensors in true real time, without any lag, making decisions with the speed and reliability of light itself. Picture medical diagnostic AI that can analyze complex genomic data or high-resolution medical scans in seconds, not days, potentially identifying diseases at their earliest, most treatable stages. Think about natural language models that can understand nuance, context, and emotion with far greater depth because they can be trained on exponentially larger datasets. The parallel processing power of photonics is a perfect match for the parallel structure of the human brain, which neural networks seek to emulate. By drastically cutting the energy burden and accelerating computation, photonic chips will allow AI models to grow in complexity and capability, moving us closer to artificial general intelligence in a sustainable and responsible way. A revolutionary idea is one thing. Turning it into a viable, manufacturable product that can integrate into the real world is another entirely. This is where the story of Kuant becomes so compelling. They are the bridge between the theoretical promise of photonics and its practical application. Founded in 2018, Kuant didn't spend decades languishing in a research lab. They moved with the urgency and agility of a startup determined to solve one of the world's most pressing technological problems. Their journey from academic research to real-world deployment has been remarkably swift. By 2024, they had achieved a monumental milestone: the introduction of their first commercially ready photonic processor. This wasn't a fragile prototype that only works under specific lab conditions. It was a robust chip, boasting those headline-grabbing figures: 50 times the speed and 30 times better energy efficiency. Crucially, Kuant made a brilliant strategic decision. They designed their processor to be fully compatible with current hardware and software frameworks. This means a company doesn't need to rebuild its entire data center or rewrite all its code from scratch to use Kuant's technology. Their chip can slot into existing systems, acting as a powerful coprocessor or accelerator for specific tasks, especially AI workloads. This approach dramatically lowers the barrier to adoption and accelerates the transition to light-powered computing. Now, Kuant is taking the next critical step: scaling production. They are ramping up to produce 1,000 wafers per year. While that may not sound like much compared to the millions of wafers produced by electronic chip giants, it is a crucial beachhead. It's enough to supply specialized high-performance computing centers, AI development firms, and research institutions. It proves that photonic chips are no longer science fiction. They are here, they are being manufactured, and they are ready to be deployed in solving real-world problems in fields ranging from AI and cryptography to complex physics simulations and drug discovery. As we look toward the horizon, the rise of photonic chips paints a picture of a future that is not just more powerful, but also more sustainable. The potential impact on global computing's staggering energy footprint cannot be overstated. By transforming the energy-guzzling data centers into models of efficiency, photonic technology offers a tangible path toward reconciling our exponential digital growth with our planet's finite resources. Let's be clear, you probably won't find a purely photonic processor in your smartphone or consumer laptop anytime soon. The need for constant conversion back to the electronic world for screens, memory, and storage makes them better suited for the massive, centralized tasks of data centers and supercomputers. But that is precisely where the impact will be most profound. The cloud services we rely on, the AI that assists us, the scientific research that betters our lives, all of this will be supercharged by the light-powered engines working silently in the background. The transformation will be gradual, then sudden. Initially, we'll see hybrid systems, where photonic coprocessors work alongside traditional electronic CPUs, handling the specific, heavy-lifting tasks they are best at, like AI inference. But as the technology matures and an ecosystem of optical components develops around it, we may see the emergence of fully optical computing networks. This isn't just a technological evolution, it's a philosophical one. For a century, our concept of information has been tied to the physical movement of charge. We are now decoupling it from matter and entrusting it to pure energy. We are building a new foundation for our digital civilization, one where the ultimate speed limit is the speed of light itself, and the primary building block is the humble photon. The future of high-performance computing is one where light, not electricity, illuminates the path forward. We began our journey today with the simple frustration of frozen progress bar and have traveled to the very edge of computational science. The story of photonic chips is the story of a fundamental shift, a moment in history where we are transcending the physical limits that have defined our progress for generations. It marks the beginning of a new era, one defined not by force, but by finesse, not by heat, but by brilliance, not by resistance, but by flow. As pioneers like Kuant continue to refine and scale this incredible technology, we are moving ever closer to a world powered by light-based intelligence. The future of computing isn't just faster, it's cleaner, smarter, and infinitely more elegant. The age of electronic limits, with its brute force solutions and mounting energy costs, is fading. The age of light has begun. But the lesson here extends far beyond the realm of silicon and photons. It's a powerful metaphor for problem solving in our own lives. How often do we hit a wall and simply try to push harder, using more force, more energy, more of the same old approach, like trying to cram more electrons down a crowded wire? This story teaches us that sometimes, the greatest breakthroughs don't come from improving the old solution, but from finding a completely new one. It's about photonic thinking, looking for the more elegant, efficient, and unencumbered path. When you feel stuck, ask yourself, am I just trying to push more electrons, or is there a way to use light? I'm left with so many questions. What new discoveries will be unlocked when scientists have access to virtually unlimited, sustainable computing power? How will our interaction with AI change when it can process and understand the world in true real time? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What application of this light-powered technology excites you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey into the future. I hope you found it as illuminating as I did. Please take good care of yourselves and stay curious. And if you enjoyed exploring the frontiers of technology with us, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications. We have so many more amazing stories to share with you. Until next time.